the budget of FY23, which I haven't found it yet, then you cannot move forward with this. This needs to come before the public. You have time to put it on the ballot. The people of this county and their donations and support and the vigorous work and life-threatening job that our volunteers have with the fire companies cannot be ignored. This has been going on for generations. I assist this county at a moment's notice, as do hundreds of other people, and get nothing for it. Now we don't even get the respect. This needs to come to an end. The public needs to make this decision, not the representative that you have been placed in your position as a daily operation authority, not to change how everything's going to happen different from now on within this county. You do not have that authority. You never have. But people have ignored it and didn't want to get involved. Well, I'm getting a few more people involved because my attitude hadn't changed. My ethics of coming in here and challenge you guys at every step hasn't changed, and it will not change. I've been a taxpayer since I was 5 years old because I've owned property. And I do not approve or were accustomed to this type of harassment. And I object to any type of executive session in this meeting. Executive sessions should be banned. Only for personal employment should that ever be allowed. This is supposed to be open and transparent. It's been everything but. Y'all have a nice day.
Justin, anyone raise their hand on one? Please and thank you. All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to make public comment?
Hello, Ed Hannon, resident here in Charlestown. And the only thing part of the aspect I'm going to speak to is the concept of a public relations person. I've seen you all getting beat up about that a good bit. And I can just tell you from experience here with the agency, when we rolled out the ambulance fee, there was a group of both combined paid and volunteer that went forward and presented this message countywide. We went to 13 different locations throughout the county promoting this plan, and it fell flat on its face. The concept of having a professional come in here and promote this plan, whatever it may be, with transparency, interaction, ability to interact and provide feedback, I think is a very good concept. We tried it, doing it ourselves, the PR work, and it ends up with one of the county commissioners on a napkin saying $40 fee and let's go. So we did not deliver the message effectively. Having a professional do it is, I think, a good way to go. And having professionals involved from here on out with implementation and everything is a good way to go. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present that would like to make public comment?
Ross Morgan, Fire Chief, Jefferson County Government. I did not realize y'all was on public comment today, so I did not have anything prepared, but I will just briefly say that I'm thinking the past 3 to 4 months, give or take, that you all have had probably, I don't know, half a dozen special sessions, special meetings. And yet you have denied all the requests to have a special meeting with the Jefferson County Fire Rescue Association, which we've been begging to have one ever since this whole debacle started. It's just, that to me is very disappointing and very discouraging. Not to even honor a request to have a special meeting with us, but yet continue to have all these special ones that you are having today. And again, we beg you, again, please change your mind on this whole ordeal. You are definitely going down a wrong path. Who's going to suffer in a couple of years is the community. I cannot say that any more sincerely from the bottom of my heart. You all have no clue. It's already beginning to happen with morale between career, volunteer, this group, the ESA group, the public. You have succeeded in starting that process. But this whole thing is going to fall flat in your all's face. I cannot be any more sincere than that. And trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I've been in this for a little over 40 years. So it's not good. It's just not good. So you're making a huge mistake.
Is there anyone else in person that'd like to make a public comment? With that, we can move on to item number 1, selection of communication and public relations consultant.
Yeah, Tom, I can see that, but Jessica, she's on our team, she will present.
Thank you.
Good morning. Feels a little different to be on this, this perspective here. John, when you tasked John with that big long motion to do several things to begin to implement this transition, one of the things that John and I discussed with our internal team was the possibility of selecting a PR firm to assist with this transition. We received 2 responses to the RFP. One of which was from Engage Strategies, who's out of DC. Their current clients include the DC Public Library, the DC Department of Health, and the National Park Service Chesapeake Bay Unit. So they have extensive experience in governmental public affairs. I want to be clear that the intention behind this request is to maximize public education and promote engagement within our community, and to just be hyper transparent about this transition, because that inclusion and transparency are key to dispelling any inaccurate information, and to also build trust and confidence of the taxpayers and establish a stronger and more positive relationship. We would like Engage Strategies to assist staff in providing to our citizens easy access to real-time information in a simple and clear format. Because this is a complex issue with many moving parts, it can be a little bit difficult for the layperson to understand, and we'd like to, make it as easily understandable as possible. In 2014, the county implemented the ambulance fee, and most in the room can remember the public response. The Hunter House received many a love letter that year and the following year. Specifically, they were just displeased. They thought that they didn't see this coming. So we'd like to prevent that situation from happening again. Rockwool is another example of where think a PR firm may have helped. And also as far back as the All Good Festival, which I'm sure Commissioner Oliver can remember as well. Staff really spent a tremendous amount of time and effort to answer questions and emails and phone calls, FOIA requests, all of the things that came about after these decisions were made. So we believe it's important to be proactive here instead of reactive, and we believe that the PR would be beneficial to the county to create awareness among the public and address inquiries with more efficiency and consistency, and in turn strengthen the success of this transition.
And I just wanted to talk about the budget a little bit. The original proposal we received from Commissioner Jackson was about $8,000 a month. And unfortunately, we can't spend that kind of money without an RFP. So we did initiate the RFP process. An RFP was put out and received 2 responses. This funding for this is not included in the budget already, so we would need to provide additional funding for it and prepare a budget revision. The response that we received and the selected person or the selected company, Engage, is expecting to charge us about $125 per hour. So we're anticipating an average of 6 to 9 months needing their services with an average of about $15 to $25 per week. So we would need to approve additional funding of 80 to 100,000. So I would recommend that we approve a max of $100,000 for this particular service. That would cover the 6 to 9 month period. This is not something that would be eligible for funding from ARPA grant. It would not be eligible funding from a capital outlay fund. So I'd recommend that we fund it with general fund by reducing transfers to the capital outlay fund and of up to $100,000 and moving that to the county commission contracted services line item.
I'm sorry, did you say 6 to 9 hours a month?
Well, I just used it's probably going to be more than that in the beginning and it'll slow down. And then once kickoff happens, it'll gear back up. But I just averaged 15 to 25 hours over the 6 to 9 month period would be $80,000 to $100,000.
If I may say, we can't hear very well back here. Is there a microphone or anything?
Well, we can try to speak up, that's about it.
I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I can't hear anything.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I have one more question. Why engage? How many submissions did we receive and why was this one selected?
We received 2 submissions and we felt that the deliverables on Engage were more in line with what our RFP required. So that's why we chose Engage.
Both proposals were similar in cost. Engage has better qualifications and better deliverables.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern is the price tag. It seems like a lot of money for a PR firm. And I'm wondering, what can we do to bring that down? I agree, getting the messaging out and all that, but the price tag seems really high. What you're asking, it makes me a little uncomfortable for that type of price tag.
Well, if I could just kind of try to put it into comparison, if you would dedicate 1 staff member to this, that would be the cost of 1 staff member for that period. So although it seems like a big number, it's a temporary number and it would free up us from having to do that. So it really translates to 1 staff member.
With benefits and.
Correct, with benefits and everything like that. So we won't be hiring a staff member, we'll be hiring this firm temporarily rather than hiring an additional staff member to handle the PR part.
We don't have the expertise in our department to manage this.
Or
We
the
just
time, or
don't.
the
Or
time.
the time. So we're very limited. We've got a lot going on. So, but I feel that this is a critical piece in moving this project forward because it's important to me and I think it's important to the commissioners. I won't speak on your behalf, but to manage the communication going out of this office and out of this commission to the public, giving them a vehicle to communicate back with us so we can have complete transparency in this project as we move forward. It's not unusual for organizations to hire PR firms to manage this type of project. This is a big project moving forward. So a lot of moving parts, like Jessica said, there's a lot of complexity to this. There's going to be issues along the way that we're going to have to manage through. And so the communication, I feel, to our constituents, your constituents, is critical to the success of this project. I don't want the public at any point in time to say we don't understand and we're not getting information out of this commission on how this project is moving forward. And that's where I'm at with this.
And I just want to be clear, my understanding is that this PR firm could put out the information to everyone. Commissioners would still receive their own emails that we get quite frequently, probably asking for information, but this would be a central point.
Correct.
Yeah, and it would help provide all of the commissioners with the same message, the same clear, concise, transparent message to relay to constituents.
Yeah, it's a little hard to explain the budget numbers and where we are and where we've been and how much it's rising, the costs.
I was gonna say, I agree with Commissioner Jackson that I am concerned of the high price point, but I also understand the concerns that you guys are voicing, that everyone in this room, and we all know, we're getting a lot of concerns, a lot of questions, and I don't know that you all have the time to answer it all. But just if there's any way we could get the number.
Yeah, I'm thinking out loud. I'm going to suggest, is there a way we could cap this amount, and if we need to come back and revisit, we could.
I was gonna suggest that, like, could we do a 3 months, like half the time, see if it works out or not?
Yeah, and find out if we're getting what we're paying for, and then if we need to reevaluate to extend, then we do, but I'd be comfortable with a cap,
Okay,
a less amount.
so a cap of 50,000 for a 3-month period, and then reevaluate it at the end, or 40,000, come up with a smaller number.
Yeah, I think 40 to start,
Oh,
40
yeah.
to visit, yeah, if we need to.
Reevaluate in 3 months.
And this is coming out of the general fund?
It would come out of general fund. I would reduce the capital outlay transfers, which are a little over $1 million.
Yeah, when we come to the rollover time, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We would need a motion.
yeah,
Yeah, because I obviously wasn't here during the ambulance fee rollout, but I even know today, I still get a lot of people asking what it is, what it means, where's the money come from. So I do think it's something that we need to.
Well, and I've experienced when people come in, when we were still accepting the ambulance fee in the commission office, people would come in and they'd be angry and they'd be upset. But once we took the time to explain to them, what the fee was for, what the money was being used for, then they would immediately calm down and say, oh, okay, now that I understand, I support this effort. So we're hoping that, this firm can assist us in that as well.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion for the county to secure a communications and public relations firm Engage for fire and emergency services issues at a cap of $40,000 for the contract. And when will that be?
Middle of September, in September for review, we'll say September 15th.
For review or engagement on or about September 15th.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
I'd just like to add that, since being elected, everybody's always talked about transparency, and I think this is the best way we can be transparent with the voters. This is going to get the information out there. It's going to get the right information out there to the public. We are not, this is not a project at Parks and Rec. This is a major project. It affects every taxpayer in this county. And I'm glad the team has worked on and found these PR firms and brought forward us today. Thank you.
Is there any more? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have is the organizational and operational status of the ESA.
So I'll kick this over to Nathan Cochran or Joe Cox.
Commissioner Hudson, I believe that we can deal with a good bit of this in open session, but before we do, I have some legal advice that I need to provide you, and I would suggest that we enter into executive session.
Hey, can you please keep it down? Not you, the man behind you, man.
I'll move a motion that we go into executive session to receive legal advice from our counsel on agenda item number 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
when you say agenda items number 2,
Well-
what do you mean?
I'm sorry, let me still know. We don't have numbers beside me today.
Yeah, I know.
Under the organizational operation status of emergency service agency.
Okay,
Yes,
all right,
sorry
that
about
sounds
that.
good.
I always give Nate the numbers.
And as I said, I anticipate that the commissioner will come back into regular session and discuss that issue.
Yeah.
Is there more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're in executive session. Thank you. Commissioner Ted, would you like to make your motion?
I move we adjourn from executive session back into regular.
So
So moving second, is there more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries, we're back in regular session.
you like that?
So, Mr. President,
Yeah, you got to speak up a little louder.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
very well. Mr. President, you had given the county administrator a directive to try to work out and work toward some of these ambulance issues and resolving them. And he requested that I provide an overview of perhaps some of the advantages and disadvantages of having a county department versus running an authority or a board such as the ESA. As you may know, under West Virginia law, there is no statutory duty for the county commission to run a fire service. There is a statutory duty for the county commission to run an ambulance EMS service if the county has the means to do so. And so here in Jefferson County, the ESA has been created by special legislation, Senate Bill 224, that provides a particular mechanism for the ESA board to operate as an EMS service and also as a county fire board. The question before the commission at this point is if the commission chooses to reorganize how ambulance services are performed in this county, what would be the best method to do so? And I think the questions that the commission is struggling with is a couple of the questions are, one, how to best protect the citizens and give them good service. And another question is how to do it in the most cost-effective way that is possible. And so that brings us to the question of should the commission resolve this issue and determine to proceed with creating a county ambulance service and take steps forward to do that. How is it going to be done? How's it going to be accomplished? Well, it could be accomplished as creating a department in the county. It could be accomplished as creating ambulance authority, or it could be accomplished through even through maintaining the current ESA that we have, but perhaps restructuring it. So what would be the advantages to formulating an ambulance service as a department of the county? In that, by department of the county, I mean, it would be a department that is directly a part of the county government, like we have planning and zoning, you have the sheriff's department, though it's a little different because there's an elected official. But anyway, in a department like that, that is directly answerable to the county commission that has no board or anything like that. Probably one of the chief advantages to formulating the ambulance service as a department is financial accountability, because the county commission would then be directly accountable, or the operation would be directly accountable to the county commission. The funds could be accessed and expended at the will of the county commission, and that gives the county commission a lot more control over that issue. And it would be the same thing with supervision of the department. The supervision of the department would be directly in the hands of the county commission. Now, when I say it's directly in the hands of the county commission, And when I say the expenditures are directly in the hands of the county commission, by that I mean it would likely operate as any of these other departments wherein they have a budget, they have certain structures of people, they have certain rules that are typically brought to the county commission for approval. And then there would be a supervisor or administrator of that particular department that would see to it that those directives of the county commission are carried out and that the budget is followed and all of those things. When I say directly responsible, directly accountable, that's what I mean. It would be just like one of these other departments that we currently have operating. So those are kind of maybe the two biggest advantages is financial accountability and supervision that would reside in the hands of the county commission directly. Disadvantages, well, it could be a few more hoops to jump through to create a department for an ambulance service. For example, right now the ESA has certain licenses and things like that in their possession. There's a bunch of them. There's a permission from the state. There's DEA licenses. There's stuff related to Medicare, Medicaid, pharmacy. There's all kinds of permissions that the ESA has to get and maintain and keep current. Some of those may be transferable or be able to be modified to go into a department, and some may not. So we may have to apply for more or for the same kind of licenses that the ESA already has, but apply for them in a different name. We may not as well. We don't know that until we try and see what some of the governmental entities that are responsible for issuing the licenses want to make us do. But there may be some additional issues in setting up a department. There would be an increased amount of administration. Primarily, I think, would reside with the county administrator, but also things that probably the commission would have to deal with that it doesn't have to deal with now. As I would suspect, a department would be set up, like we said, a lot like these other departments. And that setup is typically, you've got your county administrator, then there's a supervisor or leader or director of that particular department. And so that director would be responsible for making most of the day-to-day decisions. The bigger stuff would probably flow to the county administrator, and the really bigger stuff would come to you. So that's what a department would do. If you operate it as a board or authority, it would be much as it is right now. There are advantages by removing direct responsibility on the part of the commission. There's less direct work on the part of the commission and the administrator because the board would handle a lot of issues as the ESA handles them right now. There may be some theoretical insulation of the county from some liability issues because the board may be responsible instead of the county commission if there's a loss. Practically, that's a distinction. It's all, it all depends on the pen of the attorney filing the complaint. But in some cases, there may be some insulation of the county commission itself from liability. Some disadvantages, and as you may begin to see, these are largely two-edged swords. If they're an advantage in one way and a disadvantage in another. So in some ways, they're two-edged swords. A disadvantage, we talked about if the commission ran the department, there would be direct accountability, direct supervision. one of the disadvantages, if there's a board, is the board is not as accountable to the county commission. I mean, obviously, if they commit some horrible crime or something like that, then that's one thing. But just in the day-to-day operation, the county commission doesn't particularly usually get involved in the day-to-day operation of entities like the ESA, like Parks and Rec, unless there's money involved. If they need financial assistance or something like that, they come to me, but outside of that, there's not a lot of oversight, there's not a lot of accountability on the part of the commission. And so that's really the primary disadvantage, I think, to the commission of as operating as a board or authority. Sometimes it's an advantage, sometimes it's a disadvantage. So just at the 50,000 foot view, that's pretty much, as I see it, what some of the advantages and disadvantages are to operate as either a department or a board or authority. And so, as we said, the West Virginia Code makes the county commission responsible, puts a duty on you to provide ambulance service. There is no duty to provide fire service.
You had mentioned legal liability. If, wouldn't legal liability be, would legal liability essentially be the same, whether it's a board or a department? I mean, in your opinion, because if there's some legal issue, would they just automatically name the commission in if it was board?
Often they do. I mean, right now, I have a lawsuit involving the planning commission that did not name the county commission.
Okay.
So that there are times that they don't. I would say that particular lawsuit is not really seeking monetary damages. The allegation, I mean, if I were the lawyer suing, I would try to get you all involved in it because on the theory that you all have more money than one of the boards. But practically, you know, it's really fact dependent, but there is some times that it would create maybe a situation where the county did not get sued if it was a board. But most of the time, practically, it's not done.
But if there was a monetary settlement on that planning commission lawsuit and the planning commission lost, who would essentially be paying that lawsuit?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right, that's what, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
And I can speak to the ESA a bit since for the several years that I've been on there. I know there have been a couple of suits that have arisen, particularly around employment and that sort of thing. And the county wasn't named, it was the agency. And I believe the settlements came from the agency of whatever was paid out from that. So that has happened, that has arisen a couple times since I've served on that board. I think Jane might have been on there for one or two of those too. So
At least one of the first.
yeah.
As you know, our EMTs, paramedics are dual trained versus a board versus department. If it's a board, or excuse me, if it's a department, will our EMTs, paramedics, medics still be able to operate fire on the fire side, you know?
I think that would be the goal. It depends on the fire commission. You know, you're not a fire department or a fire prevention unit unless the fire commission says you are. And right now, the ESA operates as a fire prevention unit and as an ambulance service. But we're, you know, it depends on the fire commission's decision on that issue.
how long, could we try to get a opinion from the fire commission?
Yeah, I have been in contact with some of the council and that sort of thing from the fire commission. I know that it's the county's desire. I know it's the county's desire to not abandon the fire companies.
Okay.
I know it's the county's desire to continue to make sure that the fire companies are still able to fight fires.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Sorry, I have a question that's sort of related, I believe. If we go the route of an ambulance authority and a fire board, then what is the position or how can dual trained employees operate? I mean, can they,
Well, that would be the question for the fire commission.
okay, that's, all right. We've got to get some questions answered there
I think
first.
we need a
Yeah.
little clarity from them.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think before we can move forward on this agenda item, we need probably some more information, in my opinion. So I can clearly make a decision on that, I think.
And I think it's imperative that, current ESA employees and moving forward, that they are dual trained, because a lot of ambulance calls, you're on a burning vehicle and they've got to know what to do, have the protective equipment to wear. And, do what they
Of course,
need
all
to do.
those are decisions for the commission.
Yeah.
I agree that there are questions to be answered, but I do feel like I am leaning more towards a board right now, just because like Nathan mentioned, there are lots of groups to jump through. And I just think that we are undertaking something very big right now. And that if we have to spend extra money in covering up licensing and all those sorts of things. And I have spoken with ESA, it seems like a lot of groups. So I am kind of leaning towards the board.
And that all depends on the individual license for agencies, whether what we have now can transfer to a new entity or not. And those are just questions that we have to resolve.
I kind of agree with Commissioner Aft. I believe operationally that the ESA has been run smoothly and continues to run smoothly. And I think we might be reinventing the wheel in a lot of ways by moving it to a department, and we might cause some unnecessary disruption. So I agree that, I'm more inclined to lean towards, keeping a board or reconstituting the board or whatever it may be to make a transition and implementation as easy and smooth as possible.
I think we just need some more questions,
Right.
so we have some more
I tend to agree with more information. I
information.
wanted to make sure no one was making a motion.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just-
No,
So we'll bring this back to the commissioners once we get some confirmation from the state, and then you guys can move ahead with that.
Sure. Okay.
And that means we should probably table number 3.
So, yeah, with bullet number 3, really, everything on bullet number 3 hinges on bullet number 2. So whether you go and keep it as a board structure type of organization, or really triggers whether in fact you need a contractor, or to what degree you need a contractor to help you manage through all the details of that. So I think we're gonna have to bring that back to you.
Yeah. Okay. I agree.
That's okay with you.
All right, sounds good.
So the last thing I have on the agenda is the presentation from Director Berner, school ambulance.
Did I get promoted again?
But I saw online, someone said it wasn't captain.
Yeah,
so-
I was demoted, that's okay.
Okay, Captain, you can come on by this.
Yeah.
If I'm getting repromoted, that's cool.
She'll just-
I'll move over.
Yes, sir.
Hey, bud.
Hey, your shots are ready.
Right there.
I want to keep our financial director, Ms. Gordon, up to date because she's gonna need to run some numbers through for you folks and answer any kind of.
I only got one left. Share or, people want copies, I got one left.
I'll run across.
I'm more than happy to share, but
I
I
can
should
tee
have
this,
one to read.
I can tee this up real quick. We just get Bob started. We've looked at a lot of different models. Shepherdstown and the fire chief pulled together 3 models. Fitch has several models. Bob has brought several models forward. What we've asked Bob to do is to bring us his best scenario and present it to you today. This doesn't, we just want to run this through, get your reaction to this, and answer any questions you may have. We brought Captain Horn up here as well. Captain Horn was involved in one of our internal meetings to talk about this plan and also to talk about if you were to maintain a board structure. Captain Horn would be one of the folks on Director Byrne's team that would initiate a lot of this, manage through a lot of those changes. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Byrne.
Okay, so starting with the assumptions that I used to get to what you all want to really know about. It's my understanding that the commission plans to assume the operation of the ambulances for all 911 EMS response in the county. As I understand it, your priorities are to provide sufficient EMS, to not break the bank, and to continue to help the volunteers with fire suppression activities. Also that based on the previous meetings about this transition, that your focus is to place staff and ambulances at stations 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's Friendship, Citizen, Shepherdstown, and Independent. To work out some of these things and estimate budgets and whatnot, I also have to assume then that you'll reach agreements with all of those organizations, that the cost will work out to be feasible, and that each of those stations is able to accommodate 24-hour staffing. Now, any of those assumptions may be wrong, or those may change. So if the commission says, no, you got this wrong, that's not what we want, this bullet point or whatever, tell me, I'll change the assumption, and we'll, hit the drawing board again. If one of these things that I have assumed has changed, then it will require some changes. It may require changes to what's going on down here. So the next step is to look at the EMS demand. I'm not going to read this to you. I just tell you that the table on the bottom looks at the concurrent ambulance demand over the last 12 months. So when you look down the first column on the left where it says 1, that's the number of times each month that one ambulance was out at a time. And then if you follow that over, you see it starts to taper off a little bit. We're interested really when you get to probably the 6th column. So that's, we look down the column with the 6 in it, that's how many times each month, and then the total that 6 ambulances were needed at any given time. Okay. And then over on the right is the same data set, the same 1-year data, but we're breaking it down by hour a day as to the demand. So you can see that the demand is higher during the daytime slightly than what it is overnight. And, again, if you kind of look over in that the 6th column, you start to see where it starts really drops, tapers off. Yeah. I would just add that, and I did put this note in here, if we had 6 staffed ambulances during the day and 5 staffed ambulances overnight, we'd expect to exceed our capacity about once per month during the day and once every other month overnight. And that translates to we'd have sufficient resource capacity about 99.8% of the time. There's 2 factors that aren't included in here, and it will eat up some of that capacity because you might be saying, well, we could go a little leaner than that. I don't think we can. I'm not comfortable going leaner than that because I feel like even if that were the whole story, that's the least amount I'm comfortable with. The volunteer proposal was 6 ambulances, and I believe that was 24/7. I'm hoping that if we make an adjustment at night, we might be able to do a little more on the fire side as far as getting a staffed engine somewhere, staffing an engine somewhere. But there's two other factors that aren't taken into account here because they're very difficult to include. One is mutual aid. We have mutual aid agreements with all the surrounding jurisdictions. And so the way that works is if they need our resources, they call. If they're available, we go. But you can't say, well, if we don't have the resources because we're at capacity, we won't go, and that won't affect us because the first call in a chain might be the mutual aid call. And we say, well, yes, we have 6 ambulances available. Sure, we can send one over. And then you get to, you following me, then you end up getting to 6 and that ambulance is committed somewhere else and you can't just say, oh no, bring that back. So it's difficult to determine where those calls fit in the sequence of the clusters. They will have an impact. They will impact capacity, but to what extent is very difficult to say. The other thing that's not factored in here is if we talk about having 6 staff ambulances, there will be times when some of those ambulances will not be staffed because we've allocated staff up for those ambulances on fire engines or fire calls. So if perhaps we set it up and say something like, well, for a fire call, the ambulance who's at the station where the fire is in their jurisdiction, that crew just gets on an engine and goes, and the next dude does the same thing. So we're sorry, we're gonna let 2 ambulances go on the staffing from 2 ambulances, sort of cross staff, drop the ambulances, get on engines and go. Well, now you're down 2 ambulances. And I can't exactly predict how that's gonna fall out here. So, but I do want you to be aware of it so that you understand I'm not trying to, over resource anything. The deployment, following what I just explained, I think you probably already figured out, 6 ambulances during the day, 5 at night. And that is taking into account the mutual aid, the continuing to staff fire engines, volunteer fire engines. The options that I put before you are consideration of staffing a volunteer fire engine somewhere in the county, either not at all, 12 hours a day, 24 hours a day. The advantage that we get from that is if you had one fully staffed engine somewhere in the county that could respond on anything, at least you would know wherever you are, any volunteer company in the county would know that at least one fully staffed engine is coming to this incident. It's also safer for my staff because crew integrity, they're together with the same people. They have the people they need. And I can't take credit for this idea. The volunteers came up with something very similar a few years back in trying to put together a plan where they would, the 7 companies each would try and take 1 day a week and staff an engine, fully staff an engine, and then respond to everything, just so that, they knew as the system that there was at least one coming somewhere fully staffed. So I don't want to steal credit for that idea. You can see the summary here in the colorful table there just shows you that we're talking about 6 ambulances during the day, 5 at night, ALS ambulances. That's across the board in all 3 of these. The difference is whether you're staffing a fire engine, not at all, just during the day or 24 hours. Having a staff fire engine also helps with EMS response and capability as well. Not only because all of our people are cross-trained, so all 4 of those people in that engine are either EMTs or paramedics. So they'd certainly be very helpful on an EMS scene, potentially reducing the need to have another ambulance come for some high acuity calls. They're also very handy for, lifting things and moving people. And I couldn't imagine where sometimes we have to get patients from and to and through what. Nobody plans throughout their day when they're doing the crazy things that, I'm guilty of as well at home, that this might be the place the paramedics have to come get me out of. If we thought about that, I don't know. The geographical assignment, again, based on the assumptions, and this was a direction from the commission of working on station 1, 2, 3, and 4, 24/7 ambulance at Friendship Citizens, 2 at Shepherdstown, 1 at Independent, and then put a 12-hour dayside unit at Citizens as well. If the engine staffing, whether 12 or 24 hours, that would be assigned to a station, a volunteer station in the center of the county. We see that as operating a volunteer fire engine, not trying to, we just want to have the staffing there. You know, as long as that's agreeable, I think that would be a great way to go. Some considerations, I would be remiss if I did not address in discussing this, that there's a lot of people on the Blue Ridge Mountains. And they have a unique geography that doesn't always lend itself to access. It's one of the things that's beautiful about the mountain, but it also, from a practical standpoint, can make it a little tough. So we need to consider that. And then in Middleway, their unique situation is they have a very large area out in the western part of the county, and the incidents are just dispersed so broadly, but their incident volume is increasing, and there's no denying that. I think we need to look at, Mr. Nissel has obtained kind of some future growth projections and maps that let us see what kind of the development is looking like over the next few years. I think we need to explore that a little bit further, and I think we need to probably enlist our GIS folks in doing some GIS modeling that can show us response times based on our incident data and population data in different scenarios like this. You know, we've seen a few before, but no model that we've seen before looked at like these 4 stations or, you know, some other combinations that just haven't been explored yet. Now let's make sure we're, you know, doing the absolute best we can. In EMS, it's triage. We try and do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And so I think that's what we need to try and do.
If I can interject real quick, Bob, speaking about demographics, I do have the planning and zoning staff working on future projections for growth in the county, because that does concern us. And I think any model that we push forward has to be nimble enough to make sure that we account for growth wherever that may land. When you look at Middleway, you look at their service area, it's very large.
Yes.
And so they really are pushing out long distances. So that's concerning to me, okay? And when you look at the mountain area over there, the growth, when you look at the amount of developable lots, it appears to be about 70% built out. But there are a lot of lots up there that can't get built out because they're too small. So a lot of times you kind of try to cobble 2 or 3 lots together to make a buildable lot. So that number is all over the map. I'm just going to be honest with you. Bakerton up around Shepherdstown, when you look at the map up there, it's really kind of pushing towards the Harpers Ferry area. So as those demographics and that research and development starts to appear, I think it's important that the plans stay nimble enough that you can grow with the plan. I just want to put that on the record because you're growing.
Now the back page is the detail, the budget forecast. You really don't have to worry about this. Michelle already said any of these are fine. You can afford them all. No, I'll let her speak to the details because she's the guru on that.
Okay, so I'm just gonna look at model, the current model that we have right now. We have about 2.9 million in labor costs associated with the number of staff that we have. Fringe total is about 736,000. So the bulk of our costs are associated with our labor and benefits. We don't have a whole lot of expenses for fuel because right now we're just operating chase cars. The other expenses that we have relate to uniforms and EMS supplies. So if we would adopt one of these other models, we would have some additional costs associated with fuel because right now that cost is being borne by the volunteers. We would have additional costs associated with repairs and maintenance because right now we don't actually have any of that equipment. We would have additional costs associated with our licensing and servicing contracts and our EMS supplies. All of those costs right now are being borne by the volunteers. We have a line item in here for rent, and although we've got it labeled as rent, when I spoke to Berkeley County, they indicated that they don't actually pay rent to the volunteers. What they have done is actually create cost sharing agreements. So how that would work would be, let's say that one of the stations had 5 days and we were occupying one of their 5 days, we would split the cost 1/5 for any repairs and maintenance associated with the bay. So if they have an annual service contract on the bay doors, we would pay 1/5 of that cost. They also share the costs for common areas. So for example, if we're using the break room area and we're using it about 50% of the time, we would pay 50% of the costs associated with that. Those costs could be replacement of a refrigerator, replacement of a washer and dryer, replacement of chairs, things like that. Recliner, exactly. So we would probably implement a model similar to what Berkeley County has adopted, which would be cost sharing agreements. It's the most equitable, it's the most transparent. It ensures that the volunteers are reimbursed by the county for the actual cost of providing that service and ensures that the county is paying their fair share for those costs. So we have a number in there just simply because we need to budget something, and it is labeled rent right now, even though it would be more like a cost sharing. So total costs associated with Model 3, which would include adding the addition of 12 full-time staff needed, would increase total cost for the county by about 1.6 million. That would be offset partially by ambulance billing, because right now ambulance billing is actually being retained by the volunteers. So we would then start retaining that. So it would help offset that 1.6 million. It would need an additional 268,000 from general fund or from ambulance fee to help cover the cost of adding 12 additional staff members to ensure that we have 6 ambulances staffed during the day and 5 staffed at night. The other models are pretty similar, other than they have additional staff associated with them. Model number 7, which would provide one
12 hours staff.
12 hours.
I changed the names. I named them more instead of
Okay,
naming
I'm
by our numbers. I named them no staff because they made more sense. I thought.
So for the 12-hour staffed engine, that would include the 12 EMS that were added from the first model and an additional 8 staff members to help staff to ensure that we have 1 fire engine staff 12 hours a day. That also includes the 1.4 million in dedicated revenue from ambulance billing, and it would require an additional $973,000 in general fund or fire fee or ambulance fee. It would require an additional $1 million. The third model presented by Bob included one 24-hour staffed engine. So it would require the 12 EMS that we included in the first model, 16, we would need 16 firefighters dedicated to staff that one fire engine. We would also rededicate the ambulance fee billing of 1.4 million, and it would need an additional $1.7 million in funding, either from a fire fee or a general fund allocation or an ambulance fee, to ensure that we're able to staff one fire engine 24 hours a day with 16 firefighters. I also created a 5-year projection, just to kind of give us an idea of what it would look like over time. And I only made 10 copies of this, so I can make sure that we get copies out to everyone else. So the 5-year projection is looking at the current model that we have. So for fiscal year 22, we currently spend about 5.8 million on ambulance services. So we have 3 million coming from the general fund, about 1.1 million coming from the ambulance fee. 1 million is coming from ambulance billing, and that is actually given directly to the fire companies, and you'll see that offset down at the bottom as a fire expense. Ambulance, we had about $500,000 coming in fiscal year 22 from ARPA grant funding. 137,000 of that was for the stipend, and I believe there was a little bit more for some equipment, and the rest of that is for ambulance purchases that we've done so far in fiscal year 22. $10,000 from the impact fee fund, and that helps pay for the mortgage payment. And then from the capital outlay fund, we have 172,000 that's for vehicle replacements as well as the remainder of the mortgage. So we have 5.8 million in expenditures in fiscal year 22 for ambulance operations. Majority of that is for personnel at 3.8 million, and about 450,000 for operating. Again, 500,000 for capital purchase, and 1 million is being given directly to fire. For fiscal year 23, the budget includes 3.1 million from the general fund. We have a contingency of 240,000. However, if we were to choose model 3, I'm sorry, not model 3, but the
No staffed engine.
no staffed engine and add 12 additional staff members, we would need to come up with 270,000 in funding. We already have 240,000 dedicated in the budget. We would need to come up with an additional 30,000. The ambulance fee budget for fiscal year 23 is 1.1 million. I would anticipate that the change in ambulance billing we would start to see revenue from that in the second half of fiscal year 23. We wouldn't see it in the beginning part of fiscal year 23. So I reallocated about $700,000 in ambulance billing to the fiscal year 23 budget to help cover the addition of those 12 staff members. ARPA grant funding, we have already dedicated $5 million of ARPA grant funding for ambulance services, and we can, I would envision using that as a combination of additional equipment purchases, because we still have 7 other ambulances to purchase. We still have, it doesn't look like we're going to need to purchase any stations. However, we would need to be able to fund those 12 positions because we do not have enough funding for it. So we will be able to use ARPA grant funding to help fund the remainder of the costs associated with those additional staffing positions. We have 10,000 budgeted from the impact fee fund for their mortgage payment, and the 321,000 already dedicated in the capital outlay fund for purchasing chase cars, as well as the remainder of their mortgage payment. So for fiscal year 23, just to give a quick projection, I would estimate that we would have total revenue needs of about 8.5 million. Personnel expenditures would make up 4.6 million of that. Operating expenses would begin to increase as we start to bear the burden of the cost for fuel and operating and licensing, as well as EMS supplies. So that would increase from 450,000 to $1 million. Capital purchases are about 2.1 million. And then we still have an in-kind contribution of that ambulance fee billing of about 700,000 in fiscal year 23, as they are still continuing to receive billing, at least through the first part of the fiscal year. For fiscal year 24, I included an increase of about 2.5% to 3% for each one of the revenues as well as expenditures, just to give it a little bit of an escalation. So general county expenditures would increase by those amount, by just that small amount from fiscal year 23 through fiscal year 27. Ambulance fee would also increase slightly just based on growth in the area. The ambulance fee budget would also increase, and we would start to see the ARPA grant funding taper off. ARPA grant funding is available to us through 12/31/2024, and I would recommend that we continue to use that to help fund those positions through 12/31/2024 if we choose not to use that funding for the purchase of buildings. And we're going to use the actual fire stations. You see in the out years for capital outlay fund, the number is increasing to 321,000 to show that we are starting to have a replacement schedule for ambulances at a cost of about 250,000 annually, plus the mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So the total revenue needed to fund ambulance services with 12 additional positions would be about 6.5 million in the out years as we stop using our ARPA grant funding.
Well, we won't stop using
We'll run out of
it.
it.
We'll use
run
it
out
all.
of it.
Yeah.
What this model does not include is the need for creating additional positions in the future. So our 5 to 10 year model would want to include potentially the addition of 12 more staff, or potentially addition of a career fire program. This model that I included only addresses the addition of 12 additional EMTs. The other 2 pages that I included are just handouts that we have already handed out in the past, showing the expenditures for EMS funding, to show currently what the fire department is providing for ambulance services and fire services, and what the county is providing for ambulance and fire services. So for fiscal year 22, for ambulance services, this is just for last year, the fire departments provided 343,000 for from ambulance filling, and the county provided 5.5 million for ambulance services. Now for the fire portion of that, the county provided 490,000 to the volunteers, 70,000 to each department, and then the fire departments each receive their contributions, amounts from the state, as well as their gaming and fundraising net revenue amounts of about $1 million. So fire services in fiscal year 22, based on their 990s, the total cost of about 1.5 million. Ambulance services had a total cost of about 5.8 million. Total cost for emergency services in fiscal year 22 was about 7.3 million. And of that, the county paid 80% of the cost and volunteers paid 20% of the cost. I'm sorry, yeah. I also provided you with fiscal year 21 information. And then the last page is just showing you how the cost for ambulance services has increased from fiscal year 16. Total amount of 3.9 million to fiscal year 22's budget of 6.4 million or 6.3 million. It's a 63% increase in just a 5-6 year period. Yeah, that's a huge increase. It's not sustainable at that rate. Right? The county needs to do what it needs to do to ensure that its scarce resources are allocated effectively and efficiently. Any questions about any of the figures or information that was presented?
I guess the one question I asked when you brought up the 24-hour staff engine, you said it would be an ambulance fee, fire fee, or general fund. If we were to use the general fund, that's, we're able to do that, we keep our reserves.
Well,
What would that look like?
no, we don't have the funds available in the general fund, so we would need to come up with probably a fire fee or an ambulance fee, and then if we increase the ambulance fee, which we currently have, we would be able to then reduce the general fund contribution to ambulance and then reallocate it to fire. So that's how that would work. For us to implement a fire fee, it requires the volunteer fire departments to provide us with an actual petition, or for us to use a fire levy and actually put it on the ballot for voters to vote for that.
In order to staff a fire engine, can you explain a little bit about how the SAFER grants work, maybe?
Safer grants, my experience with Safer grants is they're very instrumental and very effective at helping you start a career fire or increasing your career fire. They are really big right now because the government has, federal government realizes that volunteerism is down. And fires still need to be put out. So the way that a SAFER grant works is it's typically a diminishing grant, meaning that it's usually a 5-year grant. So if we would be established as a fire protection unit by the fire commission, we would then be able to apply for a SAFER grant. What they typically do is they fund 80% of X number of positions, and it's usually a large number of positions. So we could potentially get 12 to 16 positions in the first year. So they would pay for 80% of it, and we would need to pay for the other 20% that first year. The second year, it's typically 60-40, then 40-60, then 20-80, and then we're required to pay for it all by the 5th or 6th year. So they're very instrumental and they're very effective at getting career staffing in place. SAFER grants are also available for purchases of equipment. All of those employees are going to need gear. They're going to need fire apparatus, breathing apparatus. They're going to need things to make sure that they're safe. So there are SAFER grants available as well to help purchase some of the gear and equipment that would be needed to help ensure that our firefighters would be safe. We chose to go that route.
And then it all has to be replaced.
It all has to be replaced.
Well, thank you for bringing this budget information here, and the 63%. I hope the public is paying attention and understanding why we can't continue down the current path. We won't be able to afford to do our constitutional duty, fund the constitutional offices of our elected officials and all the other departments we have within county government, and also fund the emergency services. There's no way. So that 63%, before I had asked for financial figures, and it was a 9% average over 6 years. So that, it builds on.
It's very challenging when you look at it over a 6-year period.
9% doesn't maybe sound significant, but 63 is significant.
If I can just say that, because that sounds like somebody needs to cut off, somebody's allowance because they're
going crazy. And I just say that, if we're looking at like 15 or 16, FY 15 or 16 to now, that is a significant increase, but I think every part of that staffing has been necessary. And I think that, I don't know who was sitting here in the 80s, because I was in middle school or high school, but when I feel like this county was behind when it comes to impact and tried to catch up, and it's very hard to catch up when you're behind. And I think that's, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's, why the increases we're feeling them hard now.
Well, and let me clarify. I did not mean that we were overstaffed or had misused money. What I am saying, the increase, the demand for services is so much that it can't come out of the county budget only. And we've got to change the way we're doing things, because the way we're doing things are not sustainable.
I'm up for a bake sale.
But
I think these plans that Bob put together, and one of the things that we talked about as a team is that you need a plan that's sort of a precursor to career firefighting in this county. It's a foregone conclusion that you're going to have to go that route, and as a model to be supplemented through with the volunteers like that will never go away.
Right.
And that seems to be the so that we need to maybe take a look at as we move down the road. I want to make sure that we keep that in our vision, because career firefighting is it's coming, and we just have to be prepared for it. I think we need to work with the volunteer fire departments to see how that model is going to look and what we can do to help facilitate that process. So this is a good precursor. I applaud Bob and his team for coming up with this. They're difficult numbers to swallow at times, but it's a reality. It really is.
You made a good argument to have the 6 and 5, 6 ambulance during the day and 5 at night. Were you all looking for a motion from the commission to go with this plan, or?
We would love a motion to go forward with this.
All right, well, I just say, I would like to see us move into a 12. I'll ask Michelle. When we ask for a safer grant, would it be better to just start off with a 12, phase it in, and then maybe a year or two later ask for another 12-hour?
That would be my recommendation, because ultimately, as the grant funding declines, we need to come up with a funding source.
Yeah.
Whether it's a levy, whether it's reallocation of the general fund, whether it's a fire fee, we need to be able to come up with a funding source. And actually, to apply for the grant, you need to show them that your plan is in place. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll go ahead and move a motion to accept the plan. There's not a number on it, but it's a 6 ambulance during the day, 5 at night, and not currently having a staffed engine. I'd like to also include in this motion that we go ahead and apply for a safer grant to start off having a 12-hour staffed engine.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
Yes, I definitely like this plan. I think it's premature to pass a motion on it today. I think we have to figure out our framework and what we're operating from. I don't want to hire 12 new individuals and everything gets rearranged. I hope that's not the way it happens. I'm not predicting that's what's going to come down the pipe, but I think we need to figure out our operational structure, board structure, whatever, as we move ahead. I do like this plan, but until we have more hard information and knowing where we're heading and how we're doing this, I'm not ready to hire new people right now. There's too many moving parts.
And I just want to add that, we're picking a model or a plan, which the commission's been talking about for months. We haven't secured all the ambulances. We don't have the spaces negotiated yet. So this is, to me, selecting a plan, and we're working toward this, and we have to obviously take care of the other stuff. We're not hiring 12 people tomorrow. but this is one of the parts of the puzzle that needs to be addressed to
I
move forward.
I was saying, what if we made it effective January 1st or something?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem. Yeah, I don't want you to think this plan is to go out and start having Bob advertise tomorrow.
Well, that was the
Yeah.
feeling I got.
No, that's,
Quite lucky.
this is like Commissioner Jackson, this is a puzzle piece of the puzzle we need to figure out so we know what plan we're going with. It won't be effective tomorrow, but it'll be a plan effective at some point in the future here. Say January, if you want to say January 1st.
So I would say our lead time for making all these changes is 6 months. And in 6 months, we will hit the go button. But it's going to take that long to get all the pieces in place. And of course, it goes back to the decision of board versus department. And that decision that you're going to make is going to hinge a lot on how we move through that process. It's very methodical. You can't miss a step. So there's a lot of moving parts. It's what I refer to as a living document as we go forward.
Can I just make a point as well? And I don't know that I'm really comfortable with saying January 1st because he's not gonna be able to hire people, Johnny, on the spot. It's gonna be a process. So I think when we get the other things wrapped up and we're ready, we have the ambulances, we have the buildings, and we have the structure, we could permit him to start advertising. It's gonna take time to recruit and
Yes,
secure those people.
yeah.
If we put a January 1st, we might have everything in order, but nobody to run that equipment. So I think we could,
We need some, some advance notice here. If you want 12 people to be ready to go on whatever date, I need probably 5 months to make that happen. Yeah, on the short side.
I
5
mean,
months.
yeah. So we're, like I said, we're picking, our goal is to go with this model.
Yeah. If you want me to amend something to make you feel more comfortable, he doesn't start hiring tomorrow, I will. Let me,
Yeah, I'm trying to think,
I'm trying to think of a word too, but I don't know.
Make
I don't
it
know how to.
contingent upon securing all of the other things, securing the vehicles and the lease or the cost sharing agreements. Any necessary licensures.
yeah.
All right, contingent on.
Contingent on purchasing 10 ambulances, securing transport licensing, and securing cost sharing agreements with the 4 stations outlined in his plan.
Okay. I would like to amend my motion to be contingent on purchasing ambulances, securing our licenses, either board or agency, and also a MOU for any type of cost sharing that we're gonna have.
And may I add, you may want to put in there, help pending the decision of how you want them to be set up.
And also pending on the board versus the structure, yes.
I think
Yes, sir.
That's a big.
like, again, it triggers a lot, and you just kind of.
Okay. That would be my 4 amendments, the purchase of ambulance, securing the license, come up with cost sharing for the department, for MOUs, for lease, and also determining whether it's a board versus a agency.
It's a board department.
Board or department, excuse me, board or department. All right, that's that,
Organizational structure.
or organizational
Yeah,
structure.
whatever.
All right.
Okay.
That would be my amendment to that motion, just so we know what's in place as well. You second that?
Second.
All right.
All right, now I feel.
All right, is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Anything
you.
else to come before the commission? This morning? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we're adjourned.
We have all that.